Spoiler warning. All right. Spoiler alert, spoiler warning, you've been warned. But since some time has passed, I gotta talk about chapter 5. And right off the bat, the earlier chapters really set the stage for this chapter. You know, I've realized the way they've been telling the story really kind of leads up to this moment where it's like so many things you didn't really think about until you get to this chapter here. So here's some things, like some positives and some negatives that I thought about chapter 5. So have you noticed in each and every chapter we've gone through so far, usually we're only in contact with one faction at a time. So the first one was the Cunning Hares, right? So the Proxies, Cunning Hares. The Proxies, Bellabog team. The Proxies, Victoria Housekeeping, right? We were always with one squad for the most part. Sometimes they would mix, but it was just maybe like two, at the most. So what's so fascinating about this scene is it's Act 1 of chapter 5, right? There's the Cunning Hares, right? Then there's also the Sons of Caledon. You already have two factions. Then Nicole calls up section 6, right, for what's happening in the story, right? The interrogation of Perlman. So you have Cunning Hares, Sons of Caledon, and section 6. 3 factions all together and the Proxy. That's a big group of people. And just like real life, when you have a big crowd of people, not everybody's going to get along, right? And I love how that's what they did with this direction here. Like, it's not, oh, we're all fine and dandy, everybody's friends. No. The tension was high. There were too many people together and things got hairy, and that's exactly how it should have gone, right? Too many people here. And you actually see a lot of different personality traits from characters who you thought you knew, right? For example, like what really threw me off guard was Yanagi. Yanagi is very professional. She's very she's the motherly figure of section 6. It seems, very nice, very sweet. But when Yanagi is in contact with Nicole, she becomes uptight, snarky, and just straight up just rude, and it's like, whoa, you never really thought about that before because you only knew the characters with their own faction. Especially section 6, because we didn't even have any contact with them either as the Proxy. So we really only get to see how they behave around their own factions. You don't get to see too much of the factions mixed together, a little bit early on, but this is like, a whole different case scenario. There's too many people together. So it gets real nasty, real snarky, real mean, The animosity in the air just goes through the roof, And what really threw me off was Miyabi points out the Proxy. And it's like, hold on, what did the Proxy do? You know what I mean? And now not only are the squads going at it, but the Proxy's getting into it too. And that's what really threw me off too, because now it's just everybody going at it. And now this has just become like, everything's just hit the fan, right? We're all going against each other. Now Yanagi's got her arms crossed, looking at Belle. And that's just like, ooh. And this just escalates as we go, right? And it's a very nice turn just to see kind of, the Proxy end up being the one that everybody's kind of giving the side eye to, right? Seemed like we were gaining so much trust and things were going well, and now it's like the tables have turned. You even get to a part where the Proxy's like on the floor, all dazed, and Miyabi approaches like she's about to slice her head off. You know what I mean? Like that's how like serious it's getting. Look at her look. And staying on the topic of animosity and the Proxy and characters having their differences, then we get to the GUN part, man. This part hurt. It hurt. Of all the people, GUN, of all the people. And they actually had a bet between Xingyi and GUN where they're like, oh, they wouldn't hide anything from us, right? They wouldn't do that. And then, we're like, oh, sorry. And she's like, whatever. Anyways, and it's just like, And then right after this sentence, she's like, or something like, I'll see you later, or, we'll be seeing you. Proxies. And it's just like, so I just love the all-out attack on the character that you play, and just seeing characters having their differences, like I mentioned before. It's just cool to not have everybody be so fine and dandy and everything's always sweet and everything's always roses and flowers. Like sometimes they do have your differences, and not between other people but between also the Proxy as well, the main character, the protagonist, right? Because usually when people have an opposing manner, it's always just the main villain, I'm like, oh, obviously, right? And sometimes the villain themselves end up becoming friends with you as well. So it's just like, come on, you know, it's like kind of like soft. But in this instance, I like how there was that the bickering and the differences, right? And as we go, we're trying to like gain their trust, right? I like in this moment here where Miyabi mentions that she doesn't really get phased or anything like that, and Belle tests that. You know, she's like, oh, there's sparks coming off your katana, and she's like, what, where? And Belle does it 2 times and just trolls her. And as that happens as well, the music cuts back in because it's dead silent beforehand, and it's this like, you know, goofy music that starts playing. So it just kind of brings you back to, you know, back to 1, right? It brings you back to like, oh, okay, we're good. Well, she hopes she's good, but yeah. So it seems like in every single case scenario, the proxy is just screwed. No one's trusting them anymore, and she can't really tell Miyabi about Carol, because if she says that, then Miyabi's gonna chop her head off. And they're just in every single situation where it just looks bad for the proxy. And that's just what you call good storytelling, where you have your own secrets, but you can't necessarily say it because you gotta maintain it for now, but you gotta wait till later. And then Ji Wen's mad at you, but she doesn't understand that Bringer is a freaking maniac. And there's so many things that don't happen until the end, but you can't tell them that now. So right now it's a bumpy road until you get to your destination. So once again, that's just good storytelling. And secondly, I love the fact that the proxies are not us. I do not like when games try and self-insert you into the story as a player. Don't do that. The only time you should do that is when you have a character creation. Like you make your own character, you know, like Saints Row, you make your own character, you're the president, you know, stuff like that. I could see that, but something like this, it's just better to have it be their own character instead of you being, you know, self-inserted. I want the other characters to address them as their names, you know, Belle or Wise, you know. That's way better to do it, because then you feel for that character. You don't feel like they're talking to you, you know, despite you playing as, you know, the role of Belle and Wise. You are not Belle and Wise. They are them. You know, you are you. You're playing the game. You're watching it. And I appreciate that much more, because it makes good moments like this and stuff like that where, you know, where you feel for them instead of feeling like they're trying to make it about you. You know, I don't like the self-insert, especially when you already have a character model that's already done. Like, that's them. It's not me, it's them. I understand sometimes that it can be, you know, a good idea to do it, but not in this scenario. So I like how Belle and Wise are their own characters. What also impressed me was the immersion. The immersion in this chapter. You get to a certain point where you're playing as your proxy, but you're actually in a combat zone. They're in a combat zone, right? Because you got stuck in the hollow. So as a proxy, you're trying to hack these towers to actually open the doors to get yourself out of the hollow, you know? And the whole time, you're not just, you don't have like a disembodied voice of Miyabi or a disembodied voice of the proxy. No, because of the new quality time mechanic they have in 1.4, you guys are actually physically together. Like you're walking side by side with the other character. So at one point you play as a proxy, at one point you play as Miyabi. You might even go back and forth. So that just kind of adds to it, where it's not just some disembodied voice, you're actually there. So obviously you play as Miyabi, you'll be way faster than Belle. So you might have to keep up with her, but you know, besides that, it just helps because it's not just a, you know, fight, walk, fight, walk, fight, walk. You know what I mean? They're trying to compensate for the, you know, the drop of the TV mode. You know, they kind of put that to the side now, so it's not the main thing. And they came a long way from just having that. You know what I mean? Of course, there were things about that made sense, but you can see they're trying to make it make sense in this fashion, right? And on top of that too, the animated shorts and the EPs, the demos, the trailers, they all kind of made their way into the game for Miyabi, right? At a certain point, you actually see pictures of those videos. Like, I mean, like you see excerpts of those actual videos that pop up in the game as a flashback. So I like how they just kind of include the things that you watched outside of the game and put them inside the game as well. At a certain point, we're in a rush to get to the speech, like the stage, and Bell recommends a faster way to get there. And you would think it'd just be like a comic or a cutscene maybe. Nope, you actually play the part where you get on the freaking train, on top of the train, and head over there, right? And you can tell this was just for the immersion because there's not really too much going on here. It's mostly the speech and a couple of ethereals that fight you, you know what I mean? So it's just really there to kind of give you something to do, right? But I appreciate just that small gesture of like, you know, just throwing you a bone. It's just something to do while you're on the way there, you know, kind of keeping you once again engaged and keeping that ball rolling. And this right here was absolutely sick. This really just had me like, you know, you should have saw my face when it happened. But yeah, you're, not to say too much, but you know, you're going through like your inner monologue, and you know, there's all these voices in Miyabi's head telling her kill, 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 you know, and she's trying to fight through it and fight, you know, combat it. And I mean, I want you guys in the comments, if you know any scene that this like takes from, let me know, because there's countless parts like this. My thought was Naruto Storm 2, Ultimate Ninja Storm 2, Sasuke versus Itachi. That's what it gave me, that kind of vibe. But yeah, let me know in the comments below real quick, like what this reminded you of, because I know it's all different things. But I love this because it really shows you that the devs, like, they're a bunch of weebs. You know what I mean? Like, they take inspiration from so many different things and different animes and shows. And I know there's some Naruto fans over there. I know it's got to be. But yeah, they're a bunch of weebs, you know, like they're just like me, you know, just like us. Like we know all these things, that they remind us of things, and to go through this was just like, oh shoot, you know, like it was very different from what we're used to in the game, you know. It wasn't just like another combat sequence, it was this. And that was like probably the final straw for like the immersion in chapter 5. Like, I was just like, man, that's actually nuts. And lastly, you have to walk on all these crates and barrels and up these stairs, and Bringer's hand is like coming down to try and slam you. And I just found it interesting because I don't know if we'll ever be able to traverse this area ever again. I don't know if we'll be able to go up the barrels. We might be able to. I haven't actually explored too much of a new area yet, so maybe we do. But just thought I'd put that out too. Like, you know, going up the barrels and, you know, making your way up to the boss fight was kind of cool too. So immersion wise, they did a pretty good job. They didn't do half bad. I was actually pretty impressed. Then just the story itself. I mean, like the amount of cutscenes. The amount of cutscenes are ridiculous. There's even like post-credit cutscene at the end too. There's so many cutscenes, especially for how short these like chapters are, you know. Love the Bell and Wise almost getting caught. That was like freaking hilarious. That was like straight out like at an anime or a cartoon or something. Freaking love this scene. Especially, you really missed out if you picked Wise, at least in this one scene. Definitely look up this scene again if you like picked Bell, to see Bell's side, I mean, without shaking the cup, like it's freaking hilarious. But yeah, the amount of cutscenes, man, the music, it's just great when you have a nice, concise project, you know? You don't gotta make it like 17 hours long. Just do it quick, all meat and potatoes, all the, you know, the important stuff, no filler. It's just good. You know, artists get to go crazy on the comic book scenes. I always love that. What was the one shot I loved? Yeah, when she throws Perlman into the hollow. That one, I love that one too. Like, yeah, just the artists get to go crazy with the comic book scenes. There's like multiple ways to tell the story. They did good, man. They cooked. They cooked. And the ball just kept on rolling too. I mean, just go back, right? Update on Perlman. Right? Like, hey, Perlman, you know, let's talk about him. You know, we got him here. You know, he's back. Bringer and Sarah's secret plan. Section 6 and Cutting Hair is arguing. You know, they couldn't even finish arguing before a freaking ambush breaks out. And then they got to fight that. Everybody gets scattered. Then there's, of course, Bell and Miyabi situation, and Talus escapes. Then right after that, Bell gets knocked out and Nicole does some kind of sus thing to get her back up. I don't even want to know what she did. Then after that, Bell and Wise almost get caught as Phaethon. GUN is pissed at us. We have a gameplay sequence where we go to Ballet Towers. Miyabi gets arrested. You know, we make up a plan to go and get her. We're on a freaking train with GUN at some point to get there faster. 07 Lycone voice actor, I don't know what happened there, but some scheduling happened. that kind of was anti-immersive, but it is what it is. Yeah, and then like I said, Sarah versus Miyabi in the truck. Miyabi's crazy, you know, in her head sequence there. Then you finally track down Bringer, and you have your whole Avengers assemble, right? Agents assemble scene, and you all fight Bringer. I say all fight Bringer, but really it's just Miyabi for the most part, or Section 6. But yeah, and then the actual finish happens. Let's see if I can actually pull it up here. They had the song timed so well, so well. Also, don't forget about Sarah as well. Sarah shoots Bringer with some kind of serum that makes him go even more insane, right? But yeah, look, check this out. They actually play the Come Alive song, man. And another thing too, it's a different rendition too. A different rendition. It's not the exact same song that we got, like, you know, as the game came out. So I'm wondering if we'll get that song on the album. I hope. But yeah, talk about a show off. And there's Brittany's. But yeah, it was nice to see that happen again, and it was nice to see everybody all together, despite their differences, right? But I love that Come Alive song out there at that moment. It was like, yes, like, I love that song, and it was cool to see it pop up again. But yeah, and you have your sweet little, you know, ending credit scene, and then we'll get into that in a second. Then you have your apology to Miyabi, and you finally tell her the truth. Even though, like I said before, you could have said it, but if you said it, it was really bad timing. Your back was against the wall. It just wasn't a good time to do it. And I like how she came clean and just told her the truth, the whole truth. Maybe not the whole truth, but maybe like 90% of the truth. And now she's all good, at least for the most part. You know, Miyabi will determine what evil is for her, and you guys can finally just have that equal footing in terms of both pasts of each other, you know. So she had her secrets for Miyabi, and now Bella had hers. They're both out there, and now we're good. So that was a nice little finish, and she gives you her hairpin. So that's a nice family memento from her family, Hoshimi family. And yeah, I guess we're good on her account. So if she can defend for us, then I think we've won. Now this, I want to point out, this was a negative part I had. So in this moment, what's happening is Bringer runs from the speech venue. He runs away. He takes off. And he's trying to escape. Because he sees like, oh, they actually got me under control again. So he's like, I'm out of here. But that was not a comic book scene. It wasn't a picture even. It wasn't a cutscene. It wasn't anything. It was just Kaleda coming over and telling you through text. You know, and no one was even voiced here, so it was just like, just read it, you know. And I feel like this kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a very important part of the story to say that Bringer left. And while it is included, it is here. It just seemed weird that it was just an unvoiced section that just got thrown in real quick, because it was a pretty important part to it, you know. That was one of the negative things I'd have to say about it. Not that big of a deal, but I was just kind of like, you know, it was brought up to me, and I was just like, you know what, that's a good point. It wasn't kind of a thing to skip over. It was pretty important that Bringer just freaking ran off, you know, because if you don't really read this part, you're confused at how Bringer even got over there. You're like, where the heck did Bringer go, you know? So that was one negative thing I have to say about it. But second negative thing, it's not really a bad thing per se, but personally I just thought it was oddly timed as an epilogue for the chapter 5. I feel like it should have been its own event later down the line, maybe closer to the release or something like that. It was just weird to have this be the epilogue of that whole crazy chapter 5 sequence, you know? So I don't know, it just seemed oddly timed. It's not bad in itself, it's just feel like it was oddly timed, you know? And especially where it's just kind of like nothing much to really do with chapter 5 at all. And it just seemed like it should have ended, we know, when those credits ended. And honestly, rather than Astro Yao, I would have rather had like GUN, you know, and maybe like we kind of chop things up with GUN after we, you know, discouraged her and lied to her. Like, you know, I thought we could have had like a thing like that where like we meet up with GUN again and tell her, you know, what's going on. Or GUN comes to our store and says, hey, you know, sorry about Bringer, because she trusted in Bringer. She thought Bringer was good, you know, it was her guy, the boss, and look what happened, right? So I would have rather had a GUN epilogue than, you know, Astro Yao out of nowhere, you know. But those are my two negative things about chapter 5. When, like I said, barely really much negative at all, but just the, you know, very quick kind of rushed sequence of Bringer running away, just kind of through the text, and then just the, you know, out of nowhere Astro Yao epilogue. But like I said, not necessarily like bad things that ruin it, just things I kind of found odd is all. Now, lore-wise, there's 3 things I found very interesting. One, you know, the Hoshimi family bloodline is actually not that crazy. It's mostly just the blade, right? There's that sword that gives them the power. And Miyabi was the outlier in a good way, where she genuinely was just strong on her own. And that was kind of a good reveal of like, oh shoot, like you were thinking that the Hoshimi family was just insane like that, but no, really it was the sword for the most part. I think they were pretty strong in themselves, but obviously what's said here is telling. But Miyabi is definitely just strong in herself, you know. There was that. There was also, what the heck is Sarah actually up to in the first place? If you actually watch my reaction to the quest line, I kept asking, like, what the heck does Sarah even want? You know, she's working with Nullface and you know, I just don't know what she really is trying to do. She took the power, she got the fingerprint. They were trying to like ruin Miyabi's image. And let me see if I can find it here. Right towards the end, she mentions something about, you know, they could refine the creator. I think I want to say it's at the end here. Yeah. But I just don't know what Sarah is about and what she's trying to do. It's just like, you know, very sus. Right here.
The test is complete.
Yep.
Elixir P07 confirmed.
Elixir P07 confirmed effective. Bringer has completed his mission. So I was like, well, who is she talking to? You know what I mean? She's like testing serums on people, you know? Really like Resident Evil-y. Like I said, the game's lore really just took a hard, like, I shouldn't say a hard turn. It's always been in there somewhere, but it's coming to light, at least in chapter 5, where it's like, what the heck is going on, you know? Just testing something out against it. Just use a whole freaking alive human being as her test subject. Kind of messed up, isn't it? Like, kind of dark, right?
Confirmed effective. Bringer has completed his mission. May the creator refine him.
So yeah, that's just like weird. Like, who is she even talking to? And then probably the most like just confusing thing of all, the proxies versus the bringers like remains, right? So there's the teacher that their teacher, Corale Arna, and then he's talking about the creator, and so is Sarah. She also says, let the creator refine them. It's the same hand that, you know, Carol had to go against before that they know of. And then this giant explosion happens and they're just fine. I'm just like, now I'm starting to question Bell and Wise very much so. Because when it cuts to them and their eyes are like, you know, like, look at that. And they don't even seem confused either. So, and it makes me think like, cause he's like kind of glitching out too. So it's just, I didn't see the bang boo. But yeah, this scene was just so mind boggling. And I'm sorry, I can't really say much about it. Like I can try and, you know, put some theories together, but yeah, like for the time being, this is just a thing I have to sit and just wait on and kind of like get more info. Continue to reveal in the fantasy of searching for the real villain. So obviously there's something from the past that they're referring to as the creator, but yeah, maybe they don't even know about Carol. Maybe they're just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know who Carol is. But maybe they have some kind of even deeper secret that I don't know about. But definitely, like I said, all the chapters before this, where she's like, I'm not fit for this level of activity. Oh, you know, I'm not ready for this. and I'm just a normal human, and you know, yada yada yada. All that from chapter 1 all the way up to 5 made you think they're just ordinary people. But after this scene, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, this is just the eye implants they have, right? Because they can, you know, control the bang boo and stuff like that, the HDD, right? So that's what this is. It's the eye implant. But still, though, it doesn't explain how they survived the explosion. The theories that we all had right now was like they're cyborgs, or like there's some kind of like robot or something, maybe, possibly. Because it doesn't, like, they did that on purpose when the explosion happens and they're just fine. It's just like, what? He was right next to them. He's right next to them. And they're not even dazed, right? They're just like, what the heck? So, I don't know. That was definitely the biggest topic point of the whole quest for me, was what the heck was that about? This is my favorite shot of Miyabi in the comic book scenes. But I got one more question for you guys. Where on earth did Proman go? Like, Miyabi threw him in the hollow, and that was the last time we've ever heard of Proman. Like, he never came back. At least I don't think, right? He wasn't in the credit scene, right? He's just gone. Like, I mean, I know it's like part of the plan and stuff like that, but I don't know, man. He really did get thrown in a hollow, and we never saw him again the rest of the quest. Not even the epilogue. That was all Astro Yao. So I don't know where he went. Nobody was worried for him. I don't know. That man literally could be dead, like, for all we know. So yeah, that's my last question for this quest. What the heck happened to Roman? But hey, I don't know. I guess who cares at the end of the day. But I appreciate you guys for watching if you made it this far. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one.